This is a quick message brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb.
So, George, you know Wuthering Heights is out in cinemas now. Yeah. And like all of Emerald Fennell's films, it feels very immediate and gorgeously detailed. You know, you just want to reach out and touch it.
Yeah, it's stunning, isn't it? So sensual. Like when Heathcliff is riding across the moors, I could feel the wind and the mist hitting me in the face. Like I've been to Yorkshire a few times. It's never been like that. That has not been my experience. But yeah, I kind of just want to go back now and really kind of immerse myself in the atmosphere of the moors and the movie and like live out my Wuthering Heights fantasy.
So, you know that Airbnb have actually recreated Kathy's bedroom in Yorkshire?
Wait, really?
Yes, down to the very last detail. It looks so good. It immediately transports you into the world of the film. And for a film that's so, richly designed, it's a really fantastic opportunity to experience it firsthand.
And it is a really tactile film, isn't it? One you want to just grab and feel. So
yeah, and there are actually lots of great Airbnbs throughout Yorkshire and the moors. So if you fancy windswept walks or sitting by a nice log fire, then why not turn it into an atmospheric long weekend?
Oh, love that. Particularly staying somewhere that is like got genuine character and that's in context with its surroundings, instead of like a generic hotel that could be anywhere.
Yeah, you want to stay somewhere that best fits the vibe and the mood of the trip you want, especially if your inspiration is a film as visually impressive as Wuthering Heights.
Count me in. I'll start working on my brooding.
Hello and welcome back to Pulp Kitchen, episode 220. George, we're on the way to 300.
Every week we get faster and faster. The time dilation is crazy.
I'm James Briefel.
I'm George Pundek.
And today we're going to be talking about the films and career of Christian Bale.
Because he has got a new movie coming out called The Bride, which I know is Jessie Buckley's movie.
Yes.
And it's also directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
However, Christian Bale's had a longer career than Jessie Buckley, so he has a longer list of films to run through.
Also, we've talked about him that much.
We've done it here. He doesn't put a film out every year, but I feel like we've often referenced him, and he has been working for like 3 decades. Jessie Buckley, we love, and go check out our Hamnet review, and we talk about her all the time. We absolutely love Jessie Buckley.
Yeah, she's great.
And I haven't seen Maggie Gyllenhaal's previous filmmaking efforts, but today we're going to be talking about Christian Bale. So just to clarify, we're not going, The Bride. Yeah, it's all about Christian Bale.
Let's discuss the man.
Yeah, let's discuss the man. We know it's Jessie Buckley's movie and we know it's Maggie Gyllenhaal's directed movie. But Christian Bale is the person we're talking about today.
An actor who we're both really fond of.
Yes, deeply.
We look forward to covering. And but before we do, George, I just want to change the exposure on this camera. But we were at the BAFTAs, which was great.
Yes.
Did you have a good time?
I did. Well, yes, of course. We had a wonderful time. We had a wonderful time at the BAFTAs. Why wouldn't we? Going to the BAFTAs, the film BAFTAs is a kind of dream come true.
Thank you to TikTok for the invite.
We were lucky enough to be invited by TikTok, and we had a wonderful evening, and it was amazing. And actually, as a spectator, watching a 3-hour award ceremony of an industry that we are very, very, very engaged and interested in was actually fun, completely fun. I actually found the 3 hours to kind of fly by because with every category, there were films nominated that we really liked and we really found it to be a very good year.
It's quite fun to just discuss them and evaluate them, re-review them, see all the, the highlight scenes that they play. And I'm like, yes, that moment, of course, like really trying to evaluate what a year it was. And Paul Thomas Anderson, when he won for Best Director or Best Film, I think?
It was Best Film, yeah.
He talked about, just how great all of the films were, which is, I know, a cliche thing everyone would say every year. But he said, really, there's a really, really top films coming on this year. In a year that definitely halfway through 2025, a lot of people, including me, were saying it's not been the best year.
Yeah.
And it was backloaded in terms of quality for sure. But Paul Thomas Anderson said, for anyone who says there's no good films out right now, which is a really common thing for people to say, politely tell them to fuck off.
Yeah.
And I was like, there are some really, really great films of this year, and it will go down as a really, really, really strong year. And there were multiple categories where you and I looked at all the nominees, and I was like, I'd very happily say most of these films could win, and I'd be really satisfied with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what was quite fun was that as the evening progressed, we were sort of totting up on our hands which film had won how many of its awards in our sort of row of other creators. We were sort of going, okay, so what do we think? We think, okay, so Sinners has won screenplay and best supporting actress, but One Battle has won sound, and F1 won sound, but it's won, cinematography and best director, so it's probably going to win best picture, and that was really fun to do. And yeah, I just came away thinking, wow, that's actually been a bloody good year and really exciting.
And then sort of the main headlines, if for some reason you didn't know the results. So One Battle and After won the most with 6 BAFTAs. We included Best Film, Director, Adapted Screenplay for Paul Thomas Anderson. Oh, it doesn't have it all here. Sinners won 3 BAFTAs, which was Original Screenplay, music,
and Best Supporting Actress.
Best Supporting Actor. Hamlet won 2 categories for Outstanding British Film and Jessie Buckley for actress. Frankenstein won 3. Costume, makeup, and hair and production design. Happy to see that there. Jessie Buckley won. Robert Arameo won, which was the main takeaway from that night.
Brilliant.
Sean Penn won for supporting actor for One Battle After Another.
Wasn't there.
And he wasn't there. Wunmi Masaku won supporting actress for Sinners. My Father's Shadow won outstanding debut. And Robert Arameo also won the EE Rising Star. Yeah. So he was the Rising Star and the Established Star.
It was a great
And you called it, George, weeks ago.
Did you know what it was?
You really felt like the momentum, it's British award show, a real underdog thing, and you went mental when Robert Arameo won.
Great feeling on our social media. It was such a great feeling in the room, and just like, because it's like, because I really don't feel like his win comes at the expense of the other actors. Leonardo DiCaprio, Timothy Chalamet, Jesse Plemons, Michael B. Jordan, they all have established careers. They will all be fine. They will all have already got their flowers. And for him to win, his victory doesn't take anything away from them, but his win in front of them is just the best way of showcasing his talent, British talent. It was just like, it's not all about the popularity contest. It's about voting for, it's great.
And being nominated full stop is obviously an amazing platform to put you on the global stage in terms of like prestige and recognition and getting your film seen. I think it's really important, but winning really does do the extra step. It's like you won over these other actors, and it's like Robert Arameo now, the type of roles he's going to be offered, the type of films going to come on his desk. It's the difference between, getting supporting roles and other smaller things, which he's mostly done, right? Or even, he's done Rings of Power, which is a big show, but now he will be, at the top drawer for casting directors to be like, this guy's just won a BAFTA. Whatever he does next is probably going to be really exciting. Whatever Robert Arameo's we see in a year or two's time will be probably as a result of the win. I hope, at least. And I hope lots of directors are seeing what this guy can do, and you'll probably see him playing Darth Vader's cousin.
I said he looks like the guy who could play Q in the next Bond movie.
Yes, I think it's a really good take.
I could see him being Q.
Yes.
I also think, by the way, just like not to ignore the kind of the industry mechanics of what these events are for. So now what they hope will happen is obviously that's raised the profile of the film in front of an international audience that's predominantly made up of Hollywood people. So the hope is that some Hollywood people there go, oh, this guy won for this film. I've never heard of this film. Let me go watch this film. This is really good. I'd like to throw my weight behind it to give it a US release.
Yes.
So then it will get a US release, reaches a wider audience. So that's why these award show things kind of operate. They are a bit like a market, which is fine. But yes, we had a very good time. Still, I'm feeling quite tired.
I was so hungover yesterday.
Yeah. We drank basically pure gasoline. Thank you, TikTok, for taking us to this wonderful banquet afterwards at the Nomad Hotel.
Again, check our social media. Gorgeous, really high ceiling with chandeliers, not lit, and just candlelit dinner. There was beef fillet and chicken.
We were well fed.
Mashed potato and risotto.
Which that actually sounds quite like
tiramisu.
Quite standard.
No, but it was done very well. It was very elevated with a nice gravy.
It was wonderful. I was triple parked. It was like champagne, red wine, and a martini.
George had the bar staff working.
I did. So I know that
who's not drinking making that's George Bunday. Yeah, I'm making a drink for George Bunday.
I went in and I was like, you guys make a very specific drink here. And they were like, well, we have to make it at the other bar. And I was like, I don't care.
I don't care how you do it.
Just do it.
Fuck, get me my drink. No, you were very polite.
We were very polite, obviously, very courteous.
A very nice red I had.
Yeah, I was sticking to the pure
and
gasoline.
A very lovely espresso martini.
Oh, yeah. Wow, yeah. Yeah, we had like 5 minutes and the staff were like, would you like any more drinks? We were like, how quickly can you make an espresso martini? I've got the after party to go to. And they did give it to
Step by
us.
step.
Yeah, it
Go
was
check
great.
out
Yeah,
our
check our
socials.
socials.
We've
We've
got all
got
the
all
highlights from that.
But yes, today in the new and rebooted format that is Pulp Kitchen in
Yes.
the previous weeks, today's is the main episode because we have your emails later and we have a game, but we are going to be doing an editorial again, as we mentioned, about Christian Bale.
And just on the new format, just really comforted to see that Robbie emailed in and said he's really glad that the new format exists, which is great. He says, "Good day, boys, long-time listener, first-time emailer. I feel compelled to contact you guys and share my love and praise for your new format. I'll be completely transparent with you. There have been many episodes of yours that I simply haven't listened to. Not because I don't want to, I obviously love the show, but because you review movies that I intend to see, and I don't want to have your review colour my thoughts going into them, even when they're spoiler-free. This isn't a criticism of you, but rather my sensitivity to emotional spoilers, if you will, setting expectations of the movie, good or bad. This is for all movie review content I consume. I prefer to avoid this is excellent, this is terrible, or anything in between. So this new format of separating reviews is perfect for me. I can easily come back to your dedicated review after I've seen the movie. Meanwhile, I can still listen to your weekly shows, enjoy the games and gossip, and not feel like I'm missing out. I was grinning ear to ear when I was driving on the freeway, and you announced this format change. I'm so very pleased. So thank you, Robbie, for... no, it's Australian.
Oh, right.
He's an Australian. But they have freeways.
Yeah, sorry.
So just good to know that, again, guys, we're just separating the reviews from the main episodes as more like a la carte pieces of content that you can go and check out, and I hope that works. But you'll always still get a mainline episode of Pulp Kitchen, like today, will be a more sort of editorialized look at, this week, the life and work of Sir Christian Bale. He has not been knighted. George?
Here we go. Okay, guys, this is how it's going to work. I have gone through Christian Bale's IMDb, and I've cherry-picked the most notable ones for us to just talk about. And some of them we've both seen, some of them one of us has seen, and might be a few that neither of us have seen. But if that's the case, we'll just move on.
I'm at peace with that.
We'll move on. So we're going to run through it in the order of his career. Now, Christian Bale is a great example, not only in general, by the way. We like Christian Bale a lot.
Yeah.
I've always thought of him as a fantastic actor, and it'd be nice to dig into why when we look at his performances. And he is an example, people forget, of a child actor who went on to be a very successful adult actor. And he first made his name in Steven Spielberg. Heard of him?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, which came out in 1989, I believe, which was based on the novel by J.G. Ballard about a child separated from his family, a British child separated from his family. Came out in 1987, and in that, Christian Bale plays a young British boy who is separated from his family when the Japanese invade Shanghai in the late 30s, sort of going into World War II. And it's a classic Spielberg movie in that you have, a longing for family, missing parental figures, a sort of coming of age thing. And even when there's horrible war things happening, Spielberg can't help but make it look really heroic and fantastic. But Christian Bale has to play this child isolated, but is also quite precocious. And he there's a portion of the film where he spends it at an internment camp where Ben Stiller and John Malkovich are there. And he's really good in it. He's really, really good, and he's really precocious. And I think that even if you didn't know what was going to come later with his career, you watch it and you go, that kid's a good kid. That kid's a good actor.
Years later, Spielberg's talked about, the young Christian Bale and working with him. And he said really crucially, which is something you almost never get with young actors in young child performances, is a child actor who's able to internalize an emotion and not just portray the first one that you see. So many grown-up actors can do this because they can show that they're feeling something else, but to them, you're trying to hide something. And he was like, at a really early age, Christian Bale was internalizing an emotion and projecting something else, which is something that's really rare and really hard to do if you're young. How do we know how old roughly he was in?
I think he was 13. I think he was 13.
Like that's really, really good on Christian Bale, and probably set the tone for him being one to watch.
Also, in case people weren't aware, Christian Bale is British, technically Welsh, I think, but he says English here, even though he's born in Wales. But yeah, he is British. Some people don't get confused about what part of the world he's from.
Yeah.
But anyways, Empire of the Sun, that kickstarts his film career, and he sticks with it. He continues to want to act. He pops up in, I've not seen it, but the 1994 version of Little Women, which a lot of people still hold dear, the one with Claire Danes and Winona Ryder. You've seen it?
No.
No, but he plays Laurie in that. Apparently he's a voice in Pocahontas, which I've never seen.
Oh, who's he playing?
He plays...
You've not seen Pocahontas?
Nope.
You've not seen any of them, have you?
I didn't, you had sisters, I didn't. And
Pocahontas is great.
I don't doubt it. He played Thomas
Oh, no way.
Is that
he's
an
like
animal?
he's like a young guy, one of the British guys on the boat who is young and swept up in the horrible.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Oh, how funny.
Then there's Velvet Goldmine, which I believe was originally
It's a great name for an album.
Velvet Goldmine. This is Velvet Goldmine.
This is Pulp Kitchen with their new album.
So this is the Todd Haynes movie, which I think originally began as a David Bowie biopic, but they couldn't get the rights. So it's just about kind of swinging 60s London. And it has Ewan McGregor, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and Christian Bale in it. Apparently he's very good in that. It's all kind of about the glam rock era, and we like Todd Haynes very much. And then actually, really, it's not until American Psycho that he also gets put on sort of... I think with American Psycho, he's now in his mid-20s. He enters the next era of his career.
Put him on the map, really, didn't it?
For me, American Psycho is probably one of my favorite Christian Bale performances because I think his performance in Christian Bale, I think his performance in American Psycho is so instrumental in landing the very specific tone and satire that film has to do in order to be successful.
It has to be a very careful balance, that role, between a satire and being very sincere.
Yeah.
If you played that role that's over the top but too camp, it would just completely fall apart and it wouldn't translate, like you said, the very specific messaging that film has. And the more you realize it's like restrained but wild, it's such a fine balancing act. It's like, I think most actors would be terrified to ever try and jump into that role and do it again, given the work that he's done and just like how wrong it could go and how right he played it. All the things to do with like the physicality. It's not just masculinity and strength. It's like chiseled control and perfection. It's like everything about it is perfectly dialed in. It's really good.
It's one of my favorite comedic performances in a dramatic movie because it is so intensely funny. And I use the word intense because he's a very intense screen presence. I mean, you do feel threatened by him in the film, as you should, because he is probably a murderer, because it's up for debate whether it's real or not. But he is so intensely funny and so deadpan that it works so brilliantly. I mean, that scene that everyone pulls out with the business cards, that works so well because he is so deadpan. And watching him... The reason the deadpan thing is important, by the way, is that like the whole point of the satire and the one in the novel is like everyone is faceless and everyone has completely lost their identity. And Bale is doing that by giving this sort of very dispassionate delivery, very deadpan, but also by being... In it being a movie, he has to be charismatic and engaging still. So he has to balance it. And then as the cracks start to occur throughout the film and the mania starts to creep in, I think he does a great job of sort of almost like becoming like this human wax work where like he's just like sweating and gurning and he's smiling. And, you know, the scene with Paul Allen with Jared Leto with the whole Huey Lewis in the news, like he's like gurning his face. It's just so well executed.
It's not just like a role where you go, oh, the physicality of it wasn't amazing. Like specifically the vocal cadence of it is controlled. Like the business card scene, like every part of it is so dialed in. And that's what makes it good. It's not just like a physical thing that he does where he's violent and he's controlled and he's strong and he's... no, it's like every element of it is perfectly dialed and every pause, intonation, like the fake laughter and like everything being really sincere. Like, oh, yeah.
We've got a lot more problems than Sri Lanka, bro.
I heard a thing, he modelled aspects of his performance on Tom Cruise, particularly the very intense friendliness, which is quite harsh to Tom Cruise, but with nothing behind the eyes, which is quite intense. But I do see that Tom Cruise, like, incredibly polite and well-meaning and sincere. And if you were to like twist the kindness and the sort of like upstanding citizen of like the celebrity Tom Cruise, you could twist that into like a really maniacal, like nasty, sort of like horrible man. But I see what he means there.
And I think there's a kind of you almost start to feel really sorry for his character towards the end because he's so fragile. And I know this sounds crazy, but like his murdering, which he's been doing, is the one thing that's given him a sense of identity. Yeah. And he's starting to realize towards the end that it either isn't real or it doesn't matter. And it completely scares him. And this sort of the way the film ends and he's just sort of kind of being ignored, just like, it's just brilliant. So
at its best, like American Psycho is less, they don't feel like scenes that were like acted and spoken, they feel really choreographed. And it's like the words are almost like sung like a song would because of the rise and falls. Like, when he's murdering Jared Leto, like it feels like a musical number in a lot of ways. And there is music and he's moving around the thing. It's just a bit ridiculous and insane. And I think the first time you watch American Psycho, it totally sucks you in because you're seeing something so peculiar. And at the heart of it is just it's a 10 out of 10 performance.
Yes, absolutely. I also saw that in the scene where Willem Dafoe, who plays the detective, comes to sort of speak to him, they recorded it like 3 times. And the first time Dafoe acts like he knows he's guilty.
Yeah.
The second time he acts like he knows he's innocent. And then the third time he doesn't know. And they used different versions within the one whole clip, which works brilliantly. My favorite, deadpan delivery is where he's like, so what did you do with Paul Allen? When was the last time you saw him? He's like, we went to see a new musical called Oh Africa, Brave Africa. It was a laugh riot.
Which is like a review he would have read.
Yeah, it was a laugh riot. Anyway, so that clearly puts him into a new era of his career. Yeah. He's now a leading man. Before we get to the film that's like Batman, before that he has a string of kind of low, mid-budget, almost misfire Hollywood blockbusters. So he has Reign of Fire.
Yeah, Reign of Fire.
The London set dragon movie with Matthew McConaughey.
What year did that come out?
2002.
Yeah, so 2002.
It's, for those who don't know, I watched that when I was like a kid. It's London and
dark
the world
and
has been taken over by dragons.
Yeah, and got to kill those dragons.
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic world. And I remember the scene where he runs like a compound and he's like telling people off for like having left some plants out and they've frozen, and he's like, the seeds won't germinate. And I was like, I know about germination.
And he would have delivered it very seriously.
Yes.
And he's almost auditioning for his post-apocalyptic Terminator work in a lot of ways.
But anyway, that's like a random movie. He also does a movie called Equilibrium, which is a very much like a Matrix knockoff, which is it's kind of, fascist state. No one's allowed to express any emotion. But what happens if he maybe does? And it's got some sick black trench coat fighting. It basically, they went, give me a Matrix-looking movie that isn't the Matrix.
Just had a chokehold on cinema for the next, arguably 8 years,
yes,
you could say. It just absolutely set the tone for everything. Like no one was safe.
Then he does a film I've not seen, but became famous because of his extreme weight loss for the role, which was The Machinist.
Yeah, I've also not seen this, but I know like its place within pop culture in a lot of ways, and I think is one of the early examples where it was the news story, it was the shocking transformation on screen, and you do look at the photos or the videos from it, and you're like, he really looks, shockingly thin. But I think the people who've seen it, they don't just think of it as this shallow transformation. He's meant to look like someone who's literally disappearing, and it's a personality of someone who is withering away, and someone who's almost like trying to become invisible.
We'll chronicle it as we go through his movies, but he does sort of have like a weight loss element or weight gain element to a lot of his performances, which he is stressed. He's like, it's not a gimmick. It's just like part of my performance. It's like, I just do it because that's what I want to do for the role. So for example, after The Machinist, which he dropped to like a crazy low weight, which is not safe, by the way, guys, do it, be responsible. He then beefs up for Batman Begins.
And it gets huge for Batman Begins.
And then we'll come back to Batman just to talk about the movie, but then like he loses it again to do Rescue Dawn, where he plays a POW. Puts it back on for The Dark Knight, and then off for The Fighter, back on for Vice, off for Ford v Ferrari.
How big was he for The Prestige? He
was sort of in the middle. Actually, I feel like he looks like he filmed that when he was having a little break.
Crucially, in the special features for Batman Begins, Nolan was meeting with him whilst he was doing The Machinist, and this thing was like, this is your Batman, this like stick figure withered person. Like Batman is big, and then obviously he gained the weight back, and there's the scene where he looked the biggest, and he no longer fit into his Batman suit because he'd gotten so big, and it's in the training scenes in Ra's al Ghul's palace in Batman Begins where he looks so big, and they refer to his moment as like, that was the biggest Christian Bale had got, and he blew everyone away because everyone just thought there's no way he's never going to be that big, and he looks like an absolute bear.
So let's get on to that then. In 2005, he is cast as Bruce Wayne, as Batman in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, which I think if we were to go back then, James, if you and I were doing that podcast back then, we probably would have been like, oh, that's quite a good shout because he's someone who's been in things.
Because of the things he's done, there's a darkness there, and you can see the Bruce Wayne element for the American Psycho masking as something. There's a darkness to it. You totally could have seen it.
I haven't seen Batman Begins in quite a long time, but I've always found Christian Bale as a Batman in general just very good.
Yeah, I mean, let's not even beat about it. Like, obviously, Christopher Nolan as well, but they reinvented the superhero genre with this film and this trilogy. Like, you can't forget that what it was before that. It's not the saying that the films before that weren't any good. The landscape was just totally different.
Yeah.
It was the biggest superhero films out at that time were the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, the Bryan Singer X-Men films. You had a couple of Fantastic Fours knocking around. Blade, Daredevil. It just was a completely different landscape, and this is birthed. And crucially, Nolan's approach, Bale's performance, the sincerity and seriousness with which they treated the subject matter just set the tone for the rest of arguably next 25 years of cinema and changed it forever.
Should we talk about the other Batmans while we're here?
Let's do the Dark Knight trilogy.
So Batman Begins, as we said, good, solid. Then the Dark Knight.
Yeah, Batman Begins I think was really well loved and appreciated, but it was the Dark Knight where I think that's a masterpiece of a film, and it really kicked in as like, this is the Batman, and the follow-up was like the most eagerly anticipated that third film. But
whenever I see photos of Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne, again, it's credit to him as an actor, because I'm like, that is you being brushed up and put in the most handsome leading role version of yourself. And he's very handsome in it, and he's very dashing and very good as a leading man. And then with a lot of the other roles we've talked about and will talk about, he loses himself, in his identity and in his American hustle and vice years, or his Ford v Ferrari era. Like, he just kind of is happy to be. That's what I find so interesting about him as an actor, and what I love is that he's basically both a leading man and a character actor at the same time.
Kind of makes sense, because Batman is a character that Bruce Wayne plays and loses himself in. It's an identity and it's a philosophy. And
you can feel warmth and fear for both elements of Christian Bale. So
I liked Batman Begins when I saw it in cinema, but I was quite young, and I don't know if I really had appreciated it. And I think I had been trained by previous comic book films and wanted something different than what Batman Begins had given me, and it obviously aged up the genre of the superhero film. It was only later I went back and watched it, probably after I rewatching the trilogy again, and I was like, the ingredients that Batman Begins sets up here is so good, especially for a film that came out in 2005.
With the Dark Knight Rises, I enjoyed it at the cinema at the time very much. Really enjoyed it. I then tried to rewatch it a few years later, and I found it a real struggle. I actually kind of stopped. I watched the first maybe 25 minutes, and I found the dialogue really heavy-handed and obvious and clunky. I don't know if that's been your experience.
Yeah, do you know what? I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times now, the whole trilogy, and it was like, first time watched it in the cinema, I didn't have the problems most people had. And I was like, I had a great time. It was epic. And then rewatched it with the lens of this film isn't perfect, and saw it for a lot of flaws that it had. Then I think I rewatched it again with Talia, and we were watching it all this way through. And I kind of just had fun with it. And I think Bane's performance is exceptional in it and intoxicating. And I just think it's silly, but also it's a fun conclusion. I don't really sort of lose sleep over it though, but I acknowledge it as the weakest of the 3. People who say it's the best are crazy.
Yeah, no, that's mad. Okay, but winding back then, so he's done Batman Begins, and then he does Rescue Dawn, which I've seen. Have you seen that?
No, I've not.
This is a Werner Herzog feature film. Obviously, Werner Herzog has also made lots of documentaries, but a true story based on a Vietnam War POW called Dieter Dangler. He was a Vietnam War helicopter pilot who gets lost in the jungle. It's a really interesting, strange film. He gets lost in the jungle with Steve Zahn. Steve Zahn? Yeah. Who I really like, by the way. Really good. And it's kind of episodic journey through the jungle, a little bit in captivity, a little bit of a breakout. And there's scenes of sudden shocking violence, and there's scenes of just the bizarrity and the humor of being in such a desperate situation. He loses a lot of weight for it himself, but it is an amazing story, and I think it might be slightly forgotten, but he's very good in that. After that, our favorite, one of my favorite films of all time, we talk about on the show a lot, The Prestige.
And I love that he does it between, the biggest Batman films ever made at the time. And he obviously, loved working with Christopher Nolan. Chris says, listen, I'm doing this. I also like that Nolan just didn't immediately go into making a Batman. He made other films between each one, which I just really rate. And they weren't small films. Inception was the biggest film of that year. And I just love that he took a mental break before going back. And if anything, it made people have a better appetite for each one. one.
I agree. And it's like a really good palate cleanser, so you don't get creatively burnt out.
Totally.
You also allow yourself to grow as a filmmaker. He's also such an efficient filmmaker that he can do that. I think some studios would be reticent to let a filmmaker go off and do something else because they get lost and sucked into something.
And also meant that for that whole period of time, Nolan wasn't just the Batman guy. He finished Batman. It was like, yeah, but I've also done The Prestige and Inception within that same time. Also, can we talk about how 2 years after he released The Dark Knight Rises, he releases Interstellar?
Yeah.
Nolan's work, though, it's another conversation for another time, but like Nolan's work rate is just incredible. But just on The Prestige, brilliant movie. It's a film that is fun to watch for every different time you go back to it. It's fun the first time you watch it and you get to discover it for yourself. It's arguably more fun the second time you watch it because it's like watching the film with glasses on because you're seeing things you hadn't noticed before. And I'd argue there's an even funner way to watch it, which is the third time you probably watch it when you show it to someone else and you watch them figure it out. And then every single time you just like go back and rediscover how much you love it. I watched it last Christmas, just the one before last. And I was waiting for myself to be like, and I was like, no, it's so good. And crucially, I think Jackman and Bale were so great together.
Yes.
Really great, just like a story about obsession and rivalry and a fun magic film.
Yeah, I for me, it's a massively formative movie in my kind of growing up and love of film. I really remember getting given the DVD of that when I was like 13 from like a friend's mum, I think, had watched it. She was like, "You like film, George? You try this." Like, I've never heard of it. And I saw the poster and I actually thought it looked rubbish.
It's rubbish, but the whispery
woman in the middle.
And
I absolutely loved it. I think it's probably the film that, outside of repeat viewing things like Christmas films, it's the film I've probably seen the most times. I might have seen it 8 times.
It's a film that really rewards you for being someone who paid attention.
Yes,
and for being someone who wanted to notice the details and to obsess over something. And you can just tell it was written and rewritten and recrafted and reworked through. And it sounds like they made a cut and then they started putting clues in. It's a properly brilliant mystery. And I just think it's probably Nolan. It still is, even though it has a huge cult following. Nolan's most underrated film and underappreciated movie. It is the cult classic that everyone will forever champion because it never got the sort of like same type of release and spectacle as The Dark Knight or Interstellar or anything he does now, which is on the biggest stage. It's like, no, man, like that. The Prestige is often like Nolan at its purest. It's very, very pure.
I think I really wonderful memories of the particular shot in it, which is you've had the kind of opening 20 minutes.
We'll keep this all spoiler free.
It's just all spoiler free.
Just we very much respect the spoiler thing.
Of it. But the opening 20 minutes where it's set up the film and it's set up the 3 different stages of the narrative. You have the pleasure, the turn, the prestige. You have the different time periods we're jumping with, and it's sort of this long helicopter shot following the train as it winds into Colorado Springs. And it just looks beautiful. And it really is this moment of like, oh, I'm now in this great story, this wonderful tale, and I love it. It's funny we're talking about Christian Bale. I don't know if it's a Christian Bale movie. It's a Christopher Nolan movie with a great cast.
Yeah. It's not like an all-encompassing Christian Bale thing at all. He's just doing very good work that he would do in a film. And like, it's not a perfect film. There are parts of it that feel a little bit cheesy and maybe ever so slightly dated. And there are the Nolan-isms that we have problems with in all of his films. They are present here, particularly like, I don't know, just
Rebecca
female
Hall's
characters in
character,
general. They're just never amazing. But one of the greats. We're just basically talking about how much we love The Prestige now, and less about Christian Bale.
But it's just
if for some reason you're listening to this show and you have not seen The Prestige and it hasn't been spoiled for you, stop what you're doing and go and watch The Prestige. I promise you, it will become your new favorite film of all time.
It's fantastic. So he does that. Also, sorry, one more thing on Christian Bale in that. It's not a very glamorous role. It's not like it's not like it's unglamorous, but like he's basically just in like Victorian rags. Like Hugh, that is part of their dynamic. Hugh Jackman is Angier. He has he's the showman.
Yes, yeah.
But Borden is the kind of the workman.
Yes,
that's the difference of it. So
and David Bowie kills it in that movie.
Oh,
nailing it.
You watched it.
Amazing.
This couldn't get any better. And then David Bowie turns up.
A cameo that would otherwise be really distracting, and it kind of is. But he's so out there, and he never really looks at anyone in the eyes. He's always staring into the mist distance, and it works. It's like,
because Christopher Nolan was like, I wanted someone who kind of, because he's playing Nikola Tesla. He wanted someone who kind of embodied that kind of mystic, alternative way of thinking that was both a celebrity and revered, but also kind of strange. And they hired David Bowie, and it was just excellent choice by Christopher Nolan.
Yes.
He does do very interesting casting choices, which I always like.
Sorry, the time setting as well, where like you're in this world of like electricity is magic. That feels like the greatest magic trick ever. Like being able to sort of harness electricity to form light bulbs. Like that is a magic trick unto itself.
No wires. Exactly. Yeah. Andy Serkis doing a wonderful New Yorker in that.
Fantastic.
And then he does The 3:10 to Yuma. You ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
This is a Western with Russell Crowe, and I think it's just quite interesting because it's a remake of an old Western, and it came out at a time where I think lots of Westerns, well, they are still, but kind of low ebb. It's fine. It's a bit of a road movie, but it's just, again, it's kind of the passing of the baton. This is kind of the waning of Russell Crowe's big era, but Christian Bale still forming his identity and also kind of sidestepping his identity as well. Like he will, okay, I'll do a Western for a bit and then I'll come over here. And I think mostly Christian Bale, and we could probably say this when we've looked at his whole career, is that he does jump around in a way that is mostly successful for him. And actually, even when he chooses films that aren't that good, he's always bloody good in it.
Yes.
And he reminds me a bit of an Adam Driver. And I think Adam Driver has had less great luck.
Yep.
In that Adam Driver is great. You know, he does do a lot of great work. And I think he chooses his projects in a similar way, but chooses them based on great directors, as we've talked about, not always to a great success. I was about to say Adam Driver good in everything, but like, he's really annoying in Megalopolis. He's really annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
that's an exception.
No one gets out of
Megalopolis.
Megalopolis alive.
And also, like, just like on who Christian Bale is as a celebrity actor, right? You know, you play Batman for a trilogy, or you're one of the biggest actors working today. And from doing that, which was a huge commercial and critical success, he could go on to do anything he wanted, and probably got offered all sorts of money to do whatever he wanted to do. Famously got offered another $80 million to do another Batman without Nolan, but turned it down out of respect to Nolan. Like, obviously the right decision. But like you noticed him in person or in interviews, he is very sincere and I get the impression that he's very focused on the craft of acting and doesn't want the noise of celebrity and other stuff to bother him. And I think maybe actually at his detriment, where he can be a little bit too serious and quite intimidating to a lot of people. But yeah, that's definitely a decision to not get lost in trying to overly please people. Yes. Him and Tom Cruise, though no slight, are very different types of celebrity actor. Tom Cruise is bigger, but it's like I put them in very, very different boxes, although I think they're probably just as good at acting as each other. It's like you choose how you want to engage with the celebrity that comes with being an actor of that caliber, and he makes a very decisive choice with it. And I can see that in the roles that he picks.
I also think I think he went through a very serious period, particularly probably just post-Batman, because he was probably subconsciously trying to prove himself a little bit, and he was getting a lot of Oscar buzz. I actually think in recent years he's softened a little bit, and actually I think he's gotten older, he's got a family, and like in some interviews he's quite... It's probably also because he's not punishing his body to lose loads of weight again, but like he's actually quite affable now, and like that when he decided to do Thor: Love and Thunder, I think was an indication that he was like, I'm okay to have some fun.
Yes, yeah,
I can do that.
But did it very seriously. Have you talked about Terminator Salvation?
That's the next one he does. So then we have The Dark Knight.
Good turn exposure. You keep talking.
2008, he goes to Terminator Salvation, which I've never seen. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen Salvation back in the day, and don't remember much about it. A very grey, muddy movie. When films of that time got very grey and muddy, it became very cool, and I think it could be genuinely like a Dark Knight effect, which although it wasn't grey,
it was the Nolan effect, the gritty reboot,
gritty, dark, ash and dirt on the face, and just things really being stripped of its color. And Terminator Salvation obviously is a dusty apocalypse film. Really was like the poster child of like this aesthetic for modern action that just got really like just a bit boring. And like I can't remember what it was that reinvented action and just sort of brought color and vibrancy back into it. And it was like it's okay to have like fun and color when you do action, but we've covered Terminator, saying that there are far more bad Terminator films than there are good ones. There are arguably only two great Terminator films, and this was just a bit of a mess. But on that thing, I think this was probably his biggest central role in a huge blockbuster. So I think he would now admit it was probably a mistake for the type of role he should have done. And the famous incident, obviously, that sort of like...
Oh, yes.
You're so amateur. You're so
That's Trump.
amateur.
You're doing Trump still.
But he sounded a little bit like Trump.
He got really... Well, no, because he was like... No, because he was doing it like this.
Yeah. You're so amateur.
You're like this. You're so bad. He lost his temper. He got caught on a videotape, and he kind of... not his best moment at all.
Did you see the video? I only ever heard the audio.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, it was just on audio,
he looked
a hot mic picked him up. Anyway, so that was a bit of a misfire. And then he then does Public Enemies, which is a Michael Mann movie. Again, it's a Johnny Depp movie. Johnny Depp's playing John Dillinger, the famous 30s gangster.
I've seen half of it. Is it really good?
No, I thought it was really boring. And he plays... not Herbert Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, who's obviously founding the FBI and who's like on the tail of him. And it's one of those movies I'm like, oh, also Christian Bale is in this. But no, I find it a really dull movie. And that's a movie that everyone just has moved on with and just forgotten about, just left in the past. And then he enters the next era of his career with The Fighter. He teams up with David O. Russell to make The Fighter, and he wins an Oscar for it, Best Supporting Actor. And, he's not even finished the Batman trilogy yet, but he is now announced as like a credible...
Loses weight again.
Leading actor. Yeah, loses weight again for a very intense, very... I don't want to say showy, because I don't want to denigrate it, but like it is a very like acting performance, but he's very good in it.
Yeah, he's great. It's a really good performance.
Dicky.
Like he's twitchy and fragile and sort of like on the edge, and he's that type of like wired, slightly drug addict. He's got the receding hair and the sort of like the blackened eyes from just like being tired. And it's The Fighter's film where it's like, yeah, it's David O. Russell, and it's like, you maybe get on with it and you don't, but it had a real great sense of overlapping real dialogue, of real salt of the earth people. And there's that famous opening tracking shot where, Mark Wahlberg's running through and Dickie's sort of running around him. You get a real sense for the setting and these people and who they are. And I think the biggest compliment I'd give it is for like really creating a world that wasn't sort of shiny and sort of, show busy, but sort of like real boots on the ground characters, the type of characters that don't usually get put on screen. And that's who, he was playing. And I get why he won the Oscar for that. It's a really good performance.
Yeah, he's a live wire in it, and a character that, in the way he plays it, is really flawed, and you feel sympathy for his flaws, and he's limited and restricted in the love he can give his brother, but like he does love him. And it's funny because he, in many ways, is the star of the film, but he is a supporting role. It's Mark Wahlberg's movie.
I think so too. It does
Mark
good to not
Wahlberg is the
overshadow.
titular fighter, but it's Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg on the poster.
It's full of micro movements, like the lip biting and the posture and the sort of moving around. He's always like darting around like he's dodging a punch.
Yes, and that begins a few collaborations with David O. Russell that we'll come on to. After that, we have, just finding myself, so then we have The Dark Knight Rises. Cool. Now he's freed from Batman, and he goes back with David O. Russell for American Hustle. Context here, David O. Russell is kind of, how we've talked about at the moment that like Lanthimos, Guadagnino, and Del Toro are like Oscar darlings. Whenever they bring a film out, they just come back to it. That was David O. Russell's era there. He had Fighter, then he had Silver Linings Playbook, and then he was back with American Hustle. And I think we've all said with American Hustle, I think it's a little bit overrated. Yeah. But it was a big, wiggy movie. It was 70s. Bale, put the weight back on. Balding sweeper. The movie begins with him trying to construct his hairline and just sweep it over. And he's doing this sort of a whispery thing. And he's got Bradley Cooper, he's got Amy Adams again. And I think an underrated Jeremy Renner in that movie. And so it's hot David O. Russell time. I've only seen the movie once. I have no real interest in watching it again, but I think I do remember him being good.
He's great, and all the acting's good in it. I just remember particularly with that film, and I really sort of started to understand that when I saw Amsterdam a couple of years ago. But it's with David O. Russell films and David O. Russell scripts. It's like I get really bored because everybody's talking, but nobody says anything.
Yeah.
There's loads of talking and moving, and like the momentum builds. I think, and somebody's doing something significant. I think, but I never truly understand the core of what's going on, and I really did feel that. I've only seen it once with American Hustle. I'm like, this looks so interesting, and the characters are so crazy, and the costume and the hair, but like I actually don't understand why I care.
No, I agree, and it's like it's made to it looks a better film than it is. It's one of those classic sort of Oscar era things, and I think for a lot of people, it kind of typified the disconnect between people's experience of watching Oscar-nominated films and these films that were getting nominated for an Oscar. I think that's kind of been corrected now. But I've no interest in going to rewatch that.
It had the 3 stars on the front. Good title. It's an American Hustle. Like, I want to say,
no, thank you. But good in that, nonetheless. I do actually remember him having the soft-spoken. He would put the glasses back on his thing, and we're going to do this thing. And then a couple of other forgotten ones. Exodus, God and Kings.
Yeah, Gods and Kings.
Couldn't make that now.
No.
Couldn't make that now at all. I mean, even at the time it was borderline, but now just like the completely sort of ethnic inappropriateness.
Over budget, over serious Prince of Egypt.
Yeah,
if you ask
and
me.
Joel Edgerton playing, Ramesses. It's just like no, we just really wouldn't do that now.
Love Joel Edgerton.
But it's a Ridley Scott movie.
Does anybody really want an overly serious Old Testament Moses film? Like, do you really want that? Because they would have been treating it like Shakespeare, wouldn't they?
That is the last gasp of the Gladiator fumes.
Yeah.
So the Gladiator fumes that were kicked off in 2000, this is the last gasp of it, I think, in 20...
Do it, yeah.
Because think about, around that era, you have Exodus, God and Kings, you have the Ben-Hur remake, and I'm like, I really feel like the bubble, the post-Gladiator bubble that was helped with things like 300... has kind of finished now.
Yeah.
And you have the 300 sequel, was it called like the Blood of Sparta or the one set on all the ships?
Years later, wasn't it? But it was Exodus very serious. Again, not much colour.
Yeah,
very, the poster was very grayscale. And I think it was just overly serious. And I think Christian Bale always is good in it. Joel Edgerton, I think, is brilliant as well. But it's like, I just could tell that they were like, we need to do this so serious. It's about a relationship with brothers and they fall apart. It's about slavery and power. And I was like...
Yeah.
Go watch Prince of Egypt.
I think he probably said, I'll work with Ridley Scott for that. That's what's enticing.
It is a Ridley Scott, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to work with Ridley Scott for that. And then the next one, again, and I think this also brings him into a new era where he's choosing different projects with not always the most glamorous or big role, but The Big Short, which is an ensemble movie.
Yes.
It's an ensemble movie in which I actually feel a bit sorry for him because all the other stories loosely overlap, but he is on his own.
Yeah.
Christian Bale's character does not meet Ryan Gosling or Brad Pitt or Steve Carell.
No.
He's just there.
Bouncing a little ball in his
Michael
office.
Burry and he's like, I have a glass eye.
Yeah.
But he's very good in it because, again, what I love about Christian Bale is, yes, he can play the handsome leading billionaire of Bruce Wayne or in American Psycho.
Disappear into a
but now
nobody role.
he's disappearing into basically a nobody role, an everyman. There's a line in it where the guy says, why are we getting advice from somebody who has their hair cut at Supercuts?
Yes.
And that's who Michael Burry is in this movie.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a new era of like the Adam McKay type film, like zany, slightly comedic twist on a true story that you know with the characters you didn't type thing. Big Short, great fun. Really
great fun and actually enjoyable upon rewatch and is very easily clipped up. And
I think you forget a lot of the details about it actually if you've only seen it once. It's worth a rewatch.
It does help me understand the property bubble.
Yeah.
I know some people...
The Jenga pieces.
I think, some people were a bit sniffy about it at the time because they're like, oh, you've sort of oversimplified something. And I'm like, you're missing the point of kind of the film. It's that like
Understanding
Adam
how it
McKay
happened.
has understood the detail and he wants to let people know and alarm people to this, what's happening. So he's using the medium of film and his role as a filmmaker to break that down for people.
It's also a very wiggy film. You got Carell with a hairpiece,
Yes.
Gosling with a hairpiece,
Yes.
Christian Bale's got a sort of slightly
Yeah.
moppy
Yeah.
dude. Brad Pitt's
got a hair and glasses.
It's quite hairy, actually.
It's like David O. Russell had said to Adam McKay, we've got all these leftover wigs and props. Do you
It's
wanna...
not all the way. It's sort of at like a 6 or a 7,
Yeah.
but they could have taken
Yeah.
it more. But when you look at you think about all the characters, everyone's sort of got something going on.
Yeah, somebody's wearing something. And then 3 years later, reunites with Adam McKay for a leading role in Vice, playing Dick Cheney. I've learned that Vice is a very divisive film.
It is. I actually really rate it when I rewatched it. I think it's a really good performance. It's not a happy film. It's not a particularly uplifting or engaging film. I find it one of the darkest films I've seen about that specific era of post 9/11 politics and the formulation of a faceless, shadowy government monster. Something that actually is really underexplored of like the people who are unelected who sit in the shadows influencing something, and you like a film that really puts in perspective the measured impact of someone like Dick Cheney. You could argue that it makes more of a villain out of him and it Hollywoodifies, someone doing a job. But also, I find it one of the most scary, haunting horror stories of 21st century politics and the ramifications that it had. And I think a menacing, nasty performance from Christian Bale. And again, gaining lots of weight for it, getting the biggest he ever got in terms of body fat.
Yeah, he really disappears into it. I think with Vice that, again, it's a bit similar to The Big Short, is that it was met with a lot of resistance from people who thought it as a really... They found it to be sort of... biased and angry and over the top, and they were like, oh, it's a bit patronizing. And I'm like, well, hang on, take a step back here. I think, especially around that time in films, I mean, this is still only 2019, so it's much different to kind of how hot conversation is now. In mainstream storytelling, things were still very sanitized and very even-handed. And in a way, I quite liked this polemic, angry take from Adam McKay that clearly had a stance, yes, clearly had an opinion, clearly had an agenda.
Yeah.
But I quite like it because I think also fundamentally he's trying to get to something which is trying to speak, truth to power. And I can get behind that. And just because it might have been done in a flashy way, I think people kind of missed the point in there. I think the movie's very long, is what I remember.
Yeah.
It was big and bulky and long, a bit like, big and bulky like Dick Cheney is. But yeah, you've got Sam Rockwell, another actor who's good in everything,
great
as
performance from
Bush.
Sam, and really well cast as
Yeah.
Bush. I really remember the way that film shoots the 9/11 moment and sort of, the meeting rooms and the crisis rooms. And there's it's such a cold, sympathyless portrayal of those events.
Yeah.
It's all about strategic opportunity and how we push forward stuff because of this moment. And the film purposefully only really sees it through the perspective, I think, of Dick Cheney. And I'm like, that's such an interesting... there's a million ways to do 9/11, right? And it's been done a million ways. But I just always found that way it does it really cold. And the film is cold and there's a sterile lack of humanity to it. Even times when it's feigning humanity with the family or something is really transactional about the movie. I kind of really stuck with me and resonated with me. And then, also, sorry, the poster he is faceless. He is a silhouette, isn't he? It's just his eyes. Or
And when we talked about villains recently, in that movie, Adam McKay is telling a story, in his eyes, one of the greatest villains of modern history. Okay, in the same year, later that year, we have Ford v Ferrari, which in some territories was released as Le Mans 66. I wish they just picked one. I hate
it. This whole Zootopia Zootropolis thing.
We can handle it.
We can handle it.
What market researcher put a report down on the studio's desk?
This
and said,
won't do well.
Do you know,
if it's
actually,
this.
if you change some of the words, some of the letters, it'll be better.
That film's made $10 billion.
Yeah.
So they're just going, whatever we did, it's working. It's Zootropolis here and Zootopia.
Do you think when the people of China, when they went to pay for it, because that's where the money was made, right? They went, hang on, is this Zootopia or Zootropolis? Because I'm only paying to see one.
Everything's going to have a different title now. It's Doomsday and Doom of the Day for us.
So Ford v Ferrari about Le Mans 66 with Matt Damon and Christian Bale. This is, for me, is a prime example of an interesting Christian Bale performance in an otherwise uninteresting film. I really didn't find Ford v Ferrari that interesting. I thought this is a James Mangold movie, isn't it? It's one of James Mangold's bland ones.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale in it is doing this very specific. The character of Ken Miles, who's a brummie in it, and he's all sort of, well, that car's a fucking shit car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drive that. And he's great. I still find the whole presentation of the film quite annoying, but it's him and his son is played by Noah Jupe. And I'm like, well, Christian Bale, you clearly found something very interesting in this project, and you had some fun with it because your character isn't super serious. He's just passionate about what he does. So,
Yeah, I concur.
I
kind of about the film, and I'm just like, I don't really have many takes on it.
That film got nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, good title, good cast, good I don't know, poster and marketing. Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. It sells it. I remember the scene where he's driving along and with his wife, and his wife's having an argument with him, and she's driving on the wrong side of the road. And that whole scene I just thought was so lame.
Right.
Felt but that's for a really cool movie. It's meant to look cool and be cool. I thought it was so lame. Then we have COVID, and then he goes, you know what? I want to do something fun, and he plays Gore the God Butcher in Thor: Love and Thunder, a prime example again of good work in a bad movie. He is having fun in that, and
one
he is
of the
good
best
in it.
parts of the movie.
Yeah.
He has the whole opening, and it's all very dramatic and sad, and he's up and he's down and he's thirsty and he's hungry and he's begging, and I'm like, Christian Bale. They paid for Christian Bale,
and they got him.
And God damn it, they're going to use him. They're going to ask him to provide every emotion, please.
Yeah, and if anything, he was like, "You want me to be serious? No, not today. I'm going to have a good time."
Yeah.
I wanted to see more God butchering.
I agree. He should have butchered more gods, and he was really sinister when, he did, from what I remember in the film, when he does square up against Thor, and he's got the shaved head and the grey skin. He looks really scary. But the film was just doing so many different things.
Isn't it?
It didn't have enough time or runway to give Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher performance the gas that it needed to really, really carry.
I don't think Taika Waititi was I think Taika Waititi could have given two figs about the fact that it was Christian Bale. Yeah, that's cool. We'll just we'll come and join, and then you're going to do a funny joke about a goat over there.
Yeah, and I like it. You know, he's doing a serious thing, but I'm just going to like take the piss a little bit.
This would be a good scene, but why don't we actually put a joke in it? Anyway, after that, again, sorry.
Isn't the Taika Waititi illusion was like totally kind of ruined with that film?
Yeah.
Like he was the hero of the MCU when he did Ragnarok. It's like, this is the refreshing the comedic tone that the MCU has been missing. And one film later, it's like, this is everything wrong with the MCU. It's so funny.
Because
he kind of ruined Taika Waititi for me in a lot of ways.
I felt like he was getting bored and frustrated with that movie. I think you can feel Taika Waititi recognizing that he's in the box that people have put him in as the quirky one.
Yeah.
And he's getting bored and frustrated with that. So he does quirky things, but he's not really backing himself in it. Maybe we'll do something over here. Maybe we'll do something there. And actually, and it's too quirky. And
you know what annoys me the most about Thor: Love and Thunder? It's not the goats and the slapstick Russell Crowe and Chris Hemsworth being more of a buffoon. I actually found the dialogue scenes between like him and Jane, the romance, like the actual personal connections that were really stripped back and just sort of like made you feel really unimportant. That to me is the crime of the movie. I don't mind having like big jokes and gags, but it was like everything was just brush aside. I remember we talked about it looking like it had been shot like an SNL sketch. Like, I say it's not like flat and uninteresting and uncinematic. That's what I found was really let the film down.
And this is my thing with Taika Waititi, and I think it's something I mentioned when we were chatting with Fred about like Jojo Rabbit. It's that my thing with Taika Waititi is that he can do funny very well. He can do that in his sleep. When he does gags, they're funny. And you're right, I didn't have a problem with the goats and all that stuff. Like when it's
I laughed at some of the goat stuff. It's funny.
It's that he doesn't know when not to be funny. Yeah. So when he arrives at a dramatic situation which requires restraint, he can't help himself but go, oh, why don't we actually, make a little
fart joke,
and then therefore you pull the rug out from underneath the whole film. You've got nothing to stand on. So that was a real disappointment there.
There are so many different sides of the Thor character now.
Yes.
I feel like he's 5 different variants of a character.
Yeah.
Like there's like, there's like serious Thor. There's Shakespeare Thor.
Kenneth Branagh Thor.
There's Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare, oh brother, well, how could you betray me? There is more like sincere and dark Avengers Thor. I always thought Avengers Thor is the best Thor.
Yes.
Then you've got parody Thor in the Ragnarok, like I'm a silly buffoon satire. And it's like, who is Thor? I actually don't know who Thor is. Like, what is he?
Not changing his run of doing good performances in bad movies. Amsterdam was next. Reuniting him with David O. Russell. One of the first premieres we went to. A massive cast. Please go back like 3-4 years to listen to our review of that if you want. Again, a handsomely presented movie with a wonderful cast. With
great support like Michael Shannon and everyone is in it. It's great.
I think Christian Bale actually is quite good in that. He's got like a wooden eye in that, and he's sort of gaunt, and he's a World War I survivor.
He's plucky and
relationship
he's
with
it
it's John David Washington, and it's a rubbish movie. Again, the dialogue. I remember being 2/3 in.
That's when I really understood. I was like, this is
De Niro's talking, and I'm like, you're one of the best actors of all time.
I know what you're saying.
These are just words.
I actually sounds like it sort of gaslights me. I'm like, am I not smart enough to understand some movies? And I have to be like, no, James, you are smart enough. You speak English very well. This film is just incoherent, and I think also like it actually maybe does the film a disservice to have someone like Christian Bale in it, because I almost think you give Christian Bale a bunch of waffle. He'll read into all of the waffle and he'll give you a million different options for the waffle, and actually it sort of allows David O. Russell to coast through by casting such great actors. But a bunch of other actors who really maybe want to just choose one thing and like try and run a through line through a script would really struggle. And it just like it all sort of got to the third act, and I was like, this is kind of picking up, but I never really knew why I should be interested. Why Amsterdam? Why did they go to Amsterdam? Why was that relevant? Bad title for a movie.
I also, again, to give credit back to Christian Bale, given that we're talking about his acting, in that movie, which has got lots of famous people in and is very scatterbrained and scattershot, when I think of that movie, I just see his face in a way, and that is an example of how he is the anchor point for a lot of these things. Amid all of that chaos, I still have Christian Bale you can kind of rely on and hold on to, for at least attempting to ground us. And then just bringing us quite up to speed, actually, The Pale Blue Eye, which I've not seen. You did.
Wintry, frosty. You know what? Really good Christian Bale. It's a really sort of like dark and somber and moody film. Dark, literally and physically dark. It is candlelit. It's a really solid film that is a Netflix film, and I think is unfortunately constrained by the format it was released on, but I also do not think it would have performed in cinema. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ironically, the only place for it was to go on Netflix, but I don't think that's the best place to see it. I would have liked to have seen it in the cinema. But yeah, it's a frosty sort of like murder mystery with Edgar Allan Poe. I can't remember exactly where it was shot, but it was cold.
Yeah, it looked
and
frosty.
and it was dark. But he's doing really good work in there. It's the first time I saw Harry Melling outside of Queen's Gambit, and I was like, this guy's really great. And now he's gone on to do Pillion, which was good.
And that brings us up to speed because then he's got The Bride coming out next week. And then he's in the film Madden with Nicolas Cage playing John Madden, which is directed by David O. Russell. Again, that I don't see being a massive film because, again, that's playing very much to the domestic US crowd.
I was going to say,
outside of
for
the US,
us, we don't really know who Madden is outside of the game.
But I think it's interesting there that, like, he's good in everything, as we know. But the last time I think he was in a cracking film was probably The Big Short, which was 10 years ago. Vice, almost there.
It depends how you feel about it.
Depends how you feel about it. A lot of people do like Ford v Ferrari, but I wouldn't say that. But from his point of view, he's also, there are a few other films in this that we haven't included, like films like Hostiles. But
in terms of like an all-round big hit.
Yeah, no, he's not been in a hit in a long time.
And he's a small part of The Big Short.
He's just one little bit. I don't think The Bride looks like a massive movie, and Madden isn't going to be a massive movie. And you know what? I'm sure Christian Bale is absolutely fine with that. He's made his money. He's proved himself.
Yeah.
Why he doesn't need to overextend himself to do something that doesn't feel natural.
He has a lot of respect and can continue to sort of operate on, like, if you have to be really brutal, like some mid-tier films in terms of budget and expectations and critical reception. That will be okay. He'll still always be a very good part of films. And he can go, listen, I like working with David O. Russell. I like working with Adam McKay. If they're doing something that interests me, I'll go and do it. I'll jump into an MCU thing. He's probably absolutely fine.
But I think you and I miss really sinking our teeth into a Christian Bale role that we really enjoy, and a film that we enjoy, and coming out going, wow, wasn't he great in that? Wasn't he wonderful?
Something that gets you really excited, like an American Psycho, where it's like
or Nolan again. Like, but
working with Nolan.
If he worked with Nolan, like, why
Nolan likes to bring back the old crew.
He could have been. Christian Bale could have done Matt Damon's role in The Odyssey.
Yes,
as a man who's not seen the movie.
no, but yeah, he could. He would have totally loved to have done it. I wonder if he asked him.
But then maybe not. Maybe Nolan's like, I've worked with certain actors and they, he did 4 movies with Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And this is on his 3rd with Matt Damon, and it's the first time Matt Damon's been giving a lead role.
Yeah.
And maybe that's fine. And that's...
He did. Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Yeah.
Interstellar and Oppenheimer. But anyway, that is the work of Christian
Matt Damon
Bale.
did great work in Oppenheimer, I thought. Not that this is about Matt Damon's career.
No, he did great. We'll talk about Matt Damon at some point during the year, I'm sure.
We will talk about Matt Damon, but for The Odyssey, perhaps.
And Christopher Nolan as well. We'll do a run through that.
Yeah, we should do. Yeah.
But it's funny because when I talk about Christian Bale, I'm always like, oh yeah, he's like, I think if someone said like, who are some of the best actors around, I would say, Christian Bale, I think he's one of the greatest actors.
This is why I think...
But I don't actually know, like, tangibly, a lot of his films haven't been hits.
This is why it's really important when we do our hottest young actors working today that we kind of weirdly keep it in that young bracket of like some sort of age under 30-something, because the answers are like, it's Christian Bale, it's Matt Damon, it's like, whoever you want to pick, but it's less relevant to talk about them because they kind of are all doing different things. I want to know like who are the hottest young actors in terms of prestige. That's why I like to say Christian Bale. It's like, well, yes, of course, but how relevant is that to the conversation?
Do we think he's got another Oscar in him? I'm sure. I think he probably does. I think so. At some point in his career, something will come out. Yeah. Some great director will find him again.
Spielberg maybe will go back with him.
Oh, wow, imagine
that. Could be a reuniting of Spielberg.
Wow, yeah.
That could be fun.
Let us know what your favourite Christian Bale performances are to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We've really enjoyed going through this today. James, should we read some emails?
Let's do it. George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you want to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns,
your news, and your reviews,
you can, of course, send those emails into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
Just
like Lavana did. Lavana writes in and says, "Dear gentlemen of Pulp Kitchen, respectful and unbiased."
That's right, as it should be.
Before I launch into my review, it's been a while since I last emailed. I once again want to say well done on doing such a bloody good job.
Thank you.
And making such a wonderful podcast. Thank you. Both the main episodes, extra content, and Double Take are highlights of my week to listen to, and the consistency of quality is astonishing. Keep up the good work, and massive thank you for everything you both do. Thank you so much. We work really, really hard on this.
Thank you. We do. do.
While waiting in line for our favourite pizza place on Valentine's evening, my boyfriend turned to me and went, "So why is everyone so worked about this Wuthering Heights film?" Only the day before, I'd caught up with a friend who went on a 15-minute long rant about what an abomination this film was for even being made, how disrespectful to Emily Bronte, and how she would refuse to see it. I was fairly neutral. Someone who, by the way, our full Wuthering Heights spoiler-free review is out for you to see. Goes on to say, as someone who isn't personally a fan of the way in which Bronte's sisters write and explore themes, I hadn't bothered to read Wuthering Heights as a teen and instead became an Austen fan, but before viewing the film, definitely fell into the category of those who felt mildly offended at the 50 Shades of Grey-esque treatment the book seemed to be getting from the looks of the trailer. But I woke up this Tuesday morning to a podcast episode all about the novel Wuthering Heights and decided that the universe had given me a sign and booked to go and see the film that afternoon. For those who haven't read the book, and still want some ways in which a novel differs from Emerald Fennell's adaptation, I would recommend the Book Club podcast episode about it. It happened at the start. I happened to start at the Oxford. I happened to start at the.
At Oxford, the October but before Saltburn.
I happened to start at Oxford the October before Saltburn's November 2023 release, and my entire first year was saturated by it. Its aesthetic, its soundtrack, and the not inaccurate comment it makes on Oxford's social culture. My only knowledge of Fennell had been her role as Vanessa Bell, Virginia Woolf's sister, in a film Vita and Virginia, which I liked but wasn't particularly memorable. However, I fell in love with Fennell's vision in Saltburn. The costumes, the setting, the composition of individual frames, and the choice she makes for particular shots. I'd also read the two novels it is loosely based on, which I think grounded the film for me. However, the made to shock tone of Saltburn, along with the Wuthering Heights trailer, had made me fairly skeptical I was going to like the film. But I listened to the podcast about the book, found out Heathcliff is a necrophiliac, which, in the light of Saltburn, made me wonder if Fennell had a pattern going here and made my way to cinema.
I don't understand.
I don't understand. Cousin Soho for everyone watching. But
I can't say that's a spoiler because I don't know what that. I don't know in what context that comment could be.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, I get it.
No, but I think it's from the book. Like that's what that is about the book. But I don't.
Right.
I think we should probably take that out. Actually, I think that's almost like a spoiler. I think it's
fine.
Yeah.
Hold on. However, the made-to-shock tone of Saltburn, along with the Wuthering Heights trailer, made me fairly skeptical I was going to like the film. I loved it. It is an undeniably good film. Maybe controversially, I do not consider it romantic. Personally, I think it is both a film and a book about class and abuse rather than a love story, with the romance being a vehicle to portray both those things. This doesn't mean I do not deny Cathy and Heathcliff have love for each other, but I think it's a type of very obsessive and unhealthy love which I cannot find romantic. It is also, without a doubt, in all caps, an adaptation and not a representation of the film on screen, and those quotation marks around the title matter. For God's sake, it cannot be a representation of the book, as half the characters in the novel aren't in the film. People need to stop treating this like they treat the 2005 Pride and Prejudice and accept it was not made to please book readers. And for those who do have a thing about the book, I found the choice to make Nellie the a good and interesting one, and one that is from the point of literary critical analysis. Completely valid. It is I just hummed for spoilers. It is a visually stunning film, and I couldn't help but smile throughout and just think, damn, she is a phenomenal filmmaker. The use of the landscape, the colors, the costumes, and many of its individual frames and shots were all sumptuous and masterful as a piece of maximalist filmmaking. What's more, I was immediately blown away by the child performances and how well they matched up to those of Elodie and Robbie, who are also doing brilliant work. Alison Oliver was also particularly phenomenal once again. Oh, and banging soundtrack too. I do have my issues though. It is not a masterpiece, and there were times when I checked my watch or found myself cringing a bit. Additionally, although Elodie and Robbie are doing great work, I do ultimately think they are miscast as Cathy and Heathcliff. My first thought being that when I saw Robbie on screen, that she was just too old to play the role, however well she was going to do it. I found it especially jarring when she was acting against Alison Oliver, who does look much younger. Fennell also undoubtedly likes to shock, and this is sometimes at the cost of sensitivity. Isabella is arguably a victim of and the way Fennell almost portrays her comedically did not sit well with me. Finally, as someone who does not find this film or the book romantic, the romanticization of the Heathcliff and the film inflicts on everyone, Cathy included, I also find hard to process. Just humming for spoilers in case people wanted to go and see it. Overall, the representation of Emily Bronte's novel, I would give it a 1 out of 10. But as a standalone film adaptation, I really enjoyed it, and I'm in fact considering rewatching it, maybe in IMAX. I'm generally sad for those who are so attached to the source material, they won't get to enjoy everything this film does have to offer. While acknowledging it's no masterpiece, it is at times shallow. Finally, I had a less it had less shagging than I thought it would, and what there was far less graphic than I expected. So if that's a concern, it really isn't that bad. Sirens on my end, Nirvana. Yeah, that touches on a lot of really similar things we thought, actually. It's actually, I'm so relieved I'm not burdened with the comparison of having read the book. I think it just would have ruined my enjoyment of it. Like holding up the novel whilst I watched the film would have just been a terrible way to enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that very detailed email, Lavana. Again, on Wuthering Heights, this is an email from Robin, friend of the show. Hello, Pulp Kitchen. Sorry in advance for the long email. I have so many thoughts. I've just seen your Wuthering Heights review, and it got me thinking about how differently Emerald Fennell's films have landed for me. Promising Young Woman had a great premise, but it didn't fully deliver. I understand what it was trying to do, and I think the characters were designed to feel relatable, but no one felt believable to me. Because of that, there were no real stakes. It was entertaining enough, but it felt more like a TV film. I would have been annoyed if I'd paid to see it in the cinema. Saltburn was visually stunning. It was gorgeous and definitely more engaging than Promising Young Woman. The performances really elevated it, especially Barry Keoghan in the final scene. I still think about it. That said, it sometimes felt more like style than substance, almost like a glossy cousin of the talented Mr. Ripley. Some of the graphic moments felt graphic for the sake of it, and I had a similar reaction to that as Euphoria Season 2. Compelling and aesthetic, but occasionally leaning too hard on mood over meaning.
Mood over meaning.
I like that. Still, it held my attention. Wuthering Heights is probably my favourite of Fennell's work. I haven't read the original novel, so I went in with very unliterary lenses. Twilight, Wicked, The Vampire Diaries, and I loved it. Here, the style was the substance. It felt like a self-aware, high-quality fan fiction adaptation of a classic. Of all the characters felt believable. It was a toxic love story, but it felt emotionally real. And that's what I like. That's well put. Yeah. The leads were excellent, and I found myself genuinely rooting for them. It wasn't shocking for shock's sake. It felt intentional. It reminded me a bit of Poor Things meets The Notebook with touches of 10 Things I Hate About You and Romeo and Juliet. A modern chic flick. It's a chic flick. But you've written a modern chic flick. Slightly trashy romantic fantasy, loosely inspired by Shakespearean intensity. Yeah. This very well said. The soundtrack was perfect. Jacob Elordi with the hoop earring was genuinely funny. Very memeable, hackney, natty wine boy energy. But I liked
also guilty of that.
Yes. But I liked the film. Seemed in on the joke. I also thought the young actor from Adolescence was fantastic. I haven't stopped thinking about it since. I did watch a summary of the original novel afterwards, and I can see why fans might be upset, but I don't think the film was trying to be a faithful adaptation. It felt like a stylized reinterpretation. If anything, I think it deserves credit for bringing new audiences back to old literature. It definitely made me more curious about the book. I also loved what felt like a subtle callback to the novel's ending. What worked here is that the film knew exactly what it was and committed to it. I compare all of this to something like Pluribus. For me, that's the difference. I don't just want sharp ideas or beautiful aesthetics. I want to feel something real at stake. And honestly, I love a trashy romantic fantasy. Can we bring that back? Best Robin. I like that.
Relinquish the pressure.
Really well said. I like it because you've defended the corner of culture and the cross-section of high and low art that this film represents. That's what I think some people are struggling with, is that you've taken this very sort of sacred text and they feel like it's been sort of muddied and grubbied by treating it in a sort of romantic fantasy way that Emerald Fennell has done.
This is why I'm quite confident to declare that I think the film is ultimately a success, because the intentions of the filmmaker and what Emerald Fennell was trying to succeed, I think is done very competently in this film. It is not trying to be an out-and-out adaptation, and therefore I don't want to knock points from it for trying to be that. It never was trying to be that in the first place.
It's very upfront about that.
This next one is from David, who writes in about Send Help, which I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. Hello, George and James, James and George. David again from Portland, Oregon. I'm sending my take on Send Help.
Quite far away.
Quite far away.
No, well, hello, Portland.
Hello. I grew up on we just read one from Australia, so
that's true. So that is also quite far away.
I grew up on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and Evil Dead. I'm a little biased, but always excited to see what Sam Raimi puts out. I saw Send Help last week, and I already bought tickets to see it again this week.
Oh, nice.
The movie is worth seeing in the cinemas purely to get that reaction with other people around you. I agree. There was a great joint audience reaction to lots of it, which is really fun. The theatre I went to, everyone was laughing together and squealing at the squirmy squirm-inducing scenes. I thought the opening dragged a little bit, but as soon as the two of them were on the island, the movie didn't let the foot off the gas. I enjoyed how original and fresh the story was, and I loved seeing Sam Raimi's special effects with flavor sprinkled throughout the movie. It was exciting to see Rachel McAdams in a different type of role. Can't wait to see what Sam Raimi makes next. Best, David. I know what you mean about the opening. I almost feel like I can actually quite see the forest for the trees of what movie it was in the opening. I thought the movie opening, the way it was written, was a little bit obvious and on the nose. I was like, oh, is this just going to be like a quite like square film where we go onto an island and things happen?
Element,
And it's actually on once you get onto the island and these characters really start playing against each other and it starts having fun with special effects. I'm like, I get it.
Yes.
This is so much fun and it keeps changing and keeps moving and it's just like cheesy and campy and kind of like really, really silly, but great fun. It's actually one of my biggest surprises of the year so far, of how much more I enjoyed it than I thought.
It looks, yes. I'm going to work my way down this list. So the next up, we have an email from a friend of the show, Oliver, who says, hey guys, hope you're both well. At work, I run a Teams channel called Movies and TV. What started as a place for a few of us to discuss films and share trailers has now grown into a 78-strong community. Wow. I'm going to say that gives me a little bit of anxiety. It's like the responsibility of the person in the office to be like, oh, you're the movie guy. Yes, you run the movie channel on our Teams chat.
There's a great episode of How I Met Your Mother where he decides to start like a baseball fantasy league at work and he like everyone starts contributing money to it. And there's a point where he like is handling like tens of thousands of dollars and starts to get really nervous. It's like, I'm handling a lot of money.
Oliver goes on to say, given we're quite an active group and inspired by your podcast, I decided to host an end-of-year quiz last year.
Yes.
And slightly misjudged the difficulty.
Okay.
I asked which camera was used to film one battle after another, and the collective groan was immediate. Yeah, I would have groaned at that. Yeah,
fair enough.
Since then, I've hosted another, more successful quiz with broader questions and borrowed some of your games like Casters Countdown. We did it for films like Wake Up Dead Man, Jay Kelly, and The Rip. I'm planning to host... The Rip's got a tiny cast, so that would have been a short cast list. I'm planning to host more and refine as I go. So given you're now seasoned professionals in this department,
very kind.
What advice would you give to myself and other Sirens hosted quizzes? How do you gauge the difficulty of the question? When is the film question too obscure? And when you write a quiz, how much of the draft edits are left on the writing room floor? Okay.
First of all, Oliver Hackett-Watson came to our first ever quiz and has been to many
That's who
more.
wrote this.
That's who wrote this.
Email.
Salute you, sir. Hope you're well. And I like that you signed off with a Pulp Kitchen
Signature,
email signature, which is like your own graphic, not non-official text, but siren,
kind of
Oliver Hackett-Watson.
That you'd see on a T-shirt in a foreign country and be like, that's
like
not
we've been
brand
ripped
approved.
off.
Not approved.
Someone's selling our merch, but we're not making money from it. It's a big question.
Yeah.
I'd say a benefit to us is that we do movie trivia every single week of the year, and so my brain is always thinking about movie trivia. I do think the type of questions that you and I would write for a quiz are very, very different to the ones we write for each other. Like if I was to write a quiz for George, it would be really, really different and just much more difficult because I'd want to tickle him in a way that wouldn't necessarily work for someone who's just attending a quiz of ours. I like to think off the top of my head, a good question for a quiz is something that most people in the audience will have definitely seen or heard the answer, but they maybe just can't quite remember it. So, for example, if you've never actually known like what camera one battle after another was shot on, you're kind of removed from the conversation because it wasn't your interest. You never really knew in the first place. But it's like, for example, which actor plays opposite the film you've definitely seen, but you just can't quite remember, is more like the good ground to sit in.
Yeah, I think quizzes also, you've got to remember, are cumulative. It's a whole evening of different questions. So some questions can be harder than other, but if you really think about what it is that creates a fun environment when you're in a quiz, it's that feeling when you get asked a question that you almost know, and then you think about it, it takes a long, and then you get it, and it's the thrill of having the answer come to you. Now, you've got to think about what that's going to be for most people. So if you are writing a film quiz, like we have, the chances are you know a bit more than the average person attending. So you've just got to climb down from that. And yes, you can include the odd, harder, more obscure ones to reward the real cinephiles. But you've also got to give people easier ones so they have a good time, so they enjoy themselves. That's it. No, there is nothing worse than going to a quiz where it's all hard. Yes. It's a really joyless experience.
And we've had the balancing act where it's not a general quiz where it's like there's a film round. These are all people who are interested in film because they listen to the show. So again, we're like finding that balance. Yeah, but I agree. It's about making it a little bit easier and don't stick to only old films. So like we've I think in most of the quizzes we've done around about the films that have come out in the last year. which is a good one to do
the way-
because there's a recency to it.
The way I can summarize it is this. The quiz is not to show off your knowledge.
Yes.
It's to reward the audience for theirs.
100%. There's no point like me and George only doing the questions that we know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, did you not? Actually, it was this.
Yeah.
We will be doing another quiz this year.
Yes.
Stay tuned for dates. But yeah, we can't wait to get back in the quiz room. Next up, this one is from Robin. No, this one is from Ryan.
Nope.
No, who are we going to?
Jacob.
This next one is from Jacob, who writes in about villains. Hi, guys. Loved the villain episode, but I think there were some big misses. First, spot on with Hans Lander as the number one pick. Well done. Some misses.
But that was your guys' number one pick. We didn't rank them in any order. You guys just chose them.
First of all, Colonel Jessup in A Few Good Men. Great villain.
In this wall, there are walls that are patrolled with men with guns.
You don't want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
You're goddamn right, I did.
You're goddamn right, I did. I tell you to keep quiet and stand a post. Oh, great.
The bit I love in A Few Good Men is when Tom Cruise arrives and Jack Nicholson knows who Tom Cruise's father is. And he's like, oh, you wouldn't be related to that?
Kathy.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, your father's a good man. He's like, actually, he passed away last spring. Oh, well, don't I feel like the asshole?
Yeah. Oh, it's one of my favorite films, If You Can Read It.
Yeah.
So good. Agent Smith, The Matrix. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant monologue when Morpheus is like beads of sweat and they're sort of trying to hack into his little brain to get access codes to the Zion mainframe. Great. This place, this zoo, this reality,
It's
whatever
the
you call it. I
smell.
can't stand it anymore. Percy Whitmore, The Green Mile.
Have you seen The Green Mile?
No.
Oh, Percy is I cannot think if it is the most annoyingly despicable human being you can imagine being designed for a movie. It's like they're like, what are the worst traits of humanity?
Yeah.
Let's roll that into one singular character.
Yeah.
And whatever you think about The Green Mile, Percy is like a button pushing kind of character because there's no way you can watch that movie and not feel complete primal rage at the awfulness of this human being. Yes, he sucks.
The Terminator T-1000.
I mean, is he a good villain? Yeah, he's just a guy. He's just a robot on a
Unstoppable
mission.
force. Yeah, it works.
I mean, I'd say I'd give it more to
So you just had a job.
Robert Patrick in the second one.
Yeah.
But it's because he's not the Terminator's not like scheming or anything. He has a mission and he's basically just executing it. If you gave him a different mission, he'd go and do that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any sort of human personal hatred of
He's
John
more
Connor.
of like a monster than a villain.
Exactly,
You know how like
yeah.
Michael Myers in Halloween is kind of more of a monster than a villain?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
alien in Alien, monster versus...
Yeah.
I wouldn't call the alien a villain.
No.
He's more of a monster.
Yes, I agree.
It's a good take, though.
You say
Mr.
so
Potter.
yourself.
Mr. Potter
Yes,
from It's a
yeah,
Wonderful
of course,
Life.
yeah.
Commodus from Gladiator. Yeah, Gladiator 1. Joaquin
Joaquin.
Phoenix doing great work. I have some others, but it was worthwhile to name at least a few that weren't on your list. For honorable mention, I'll throw in Shooter McGavin, from Happy Gilmore, and Eric Gordon from Billy Madison. Yeah, thanks to the pod and keep it up.
I've never
Jacob.
seen Billy Madison. What's the premise of Billy Madison?
I've not seen Billy Madison.
So I know it's not the golf one.
Yes.
I know it's not the water boy.
No. Yeah.
So it's just about a guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is from Alexander, who says, James's walk is really scary. Alexander with a great surname, by the way. Alex from Suffolk. He says, hello, James and George. I believe I just saw James walking out of Willesden Green Station, 19th of February, around 3:35.
Yes.
Looks like James, buzzed hair, tall as fuck, but he had a menacing walk. Like the sort of walk that it looked like he could knock me out. I've never seen James, or George for that matter, walk, but your voice and face seems like someone who can have a more warm walk. Perhaps I'm confusing what I thought was menacing walk for simply being upbeat. So I have to know what... So I have to know, have I found James's scary doppelganger, or do you have a menacing walk? Love the show. Also, I'm an actor, so hoping you'll review a film I'm in soon. In the meantime, you can see a Pringles advert I did on Pringles US YouTube. It's had more views than Sabrina Carpenter. P.S. I had a first kiss with a girl during the credits of Wuthering Heights. Is that cliche or romantic? I can't tell. Either way, I'm smitten. Best, Alex from Suffolk. Okay, Mr. Menacing Walk.
Alex, that is most likely me. I was until recently living in Willesden Green. I walk exceptionally quick when not burdened with the company of other people.
Oh,
and
that's
I use
brilliant.
the word burden because they they slow me down.
do, yeah.
Yes, I have been known to have a bit of a not resting bitch face, but a resting focus face.
As someone who's edited your face, I can say that
I'm just like
we're only human. We're only human.
yeah.
I have resting sad face. There have been times
Yes,
people
yeah,
say
yeah,
to
you
me,
too, yeah.
"Jesus Christ,
You
what's
okay?
wrong?"
Yeah.
But you have
I can
resting.
sort of, well,
intensity.
I'm really listening. I look like deeply sort of forlorn and depressed, but no, that is most likely me. But by all means, stop me and say hello. I'm always much friendly when encountered with a human being. I'm just, I'm on my way, 3:35 on the 19th of Feb. I was, it really does make sense. It was last week.
It's a miracle, and probably the only reason the show continues is
I
because
think I was
have-
in a rush.
because I have a pace that matches James's because of my height.
Yes.
We have the same stride, so we're okay for speed.
I love walking
I'm
quickly.
not burdened, but
I take 30%. When Google tells me something's going to take an amount of time to walk, I cut 30% off it.
I know, and it's great, isn't it? It's such a thrill when you go.
Yeah.
When something says 15 minutes, and you go, "I'll see you in 10."
Yeah.
What's the? How does Talia cope with your
I slow down for her.
You slow down for her.
But I'll be honest, it's a never-ending struggle.
It is,
It's
same
a
down
never-
there.
Trying to walk slower is
It's
actually
harder work
really,
than
it's
walking-
harder
yes.
work than just walking your normal speed.
That's what people don't understand. The effort required to actively
the
slow
pace.
your speed when
Yeah.
your stride is naturally long
Yeah.
is very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Very hard.
Me and you, we can cut across Oxford Street in minutes.
Watch out.
Literally, like, 'cause often we get out at Bond, but we need to get somewhere around Tottenham Court Road. You've got to go all the way around. We're like, if we just
Cut that
steamroll
pavement
this.
up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Last email, I think, is from Ryan.
Ryan writes in and says, "Dear J and G and J, I hadn't been attending the cinema as of late due to becoming a father for the first time at the end of
Congratulations.
November. Congratulations. Towards the end of my partner's pregnancy, I stopped visiting my local View multiplex, and I feel I've been missed quite a few biggies in the movie world. My partner always says to go out and watch a movie, but leaving her with a 12-week-old is hard enough to go to work, let alone for a movie for 3 hours in my spare time." Fair enough. As 2026 ramps up, are there any mammoth movies you recommend I try and make
sounded a
sure?
bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger then.
Are there any mammoth movies you recommend I try and make sure I actually catch in the cinema rather than waiting for them to come on VOD or streamers? And finally, congrats on the 200. Glad the merch finally came out. Finally got around to subscribing to Double Take. Should not have waited this long. Thanks for keeping my walks with the little one and dog entertaining. Oh, if you're listening and you're walking right now, I hope you're having a good time. Big films of 2026. I mean, George, 2026 is full of all the big films.
Big movies. I would just say, without wishing to plug ourselves, do listen every week to our reviews, and you'll get a good gauge on whether or not something is something you need to see in the cinemas. I would say if you are a little bit having a bit of a drought, go watch Wuthering Heights because it's topical. Everyone's talking about it, and it does look great on the big screen. That aside, I think you'll probably might still be able to catch a few of the Oscar contenders in circulation because they sometimes re-release it. So if you haven't seen
Go and see Hamnet.
One Battle After Another or Hamnet or Marty Supreme, I definitely go and do that if you still get the chance.
One Battle is obviously a 3-hour experience. It's a 4-hour commitment from your time if you take into account travel and trailers. But like a film that would be so good to see uninterrupted on cinema. I know that's really hard to sort of tell you to go and do. In the next few weeks, Project Hail Mary is coming out.
Yeah.
That's a big screen film. I haven't seen it yet. I'm seeing it on Monday, so we'll report back as soon as we can. But that's probably a good one to take yourself to see. Like Avengers and Spider-Man's coming out.
The Odyssey,
the Odyssey.
Day. I mean, look, mate, you got
The
loads
Odyssey.
coming up.
I haven't seen Project Hail Mary yet, but I think that could be good to catch.
June 3.
June 3, you want to see in cinema. And if you care about Avengers,
Those are quite spread out as well.
Yeah.
So if you need to earn some sort of cachet at home.
Just leave your months-old child next to the popcorn behind the counter and just
I think for legal purposes, we're not recommending you do that.
for a Pepsi and another 9 for popcorn. Surely that's the cost of or save money on popcorn and soda and put that money into a babysitter and just chew gum.
So you just reminded me that this is such a specific memory, James. You've given me 2007. I'm with my friend Charlie McKenzie. We go and see the Simpsons movie.
Yes.
We've just had a sleepover at his house. We turn up with sleeping bags and everything. Like,
a great weekend you had.
encumbered by stuff.
Isn't being a kid the best?
It's great. And I say, we're about to go into the movie, and I'm like, we've got all this stuff. Can we just leave it behind the desk? And at first, the woman's like, I don't know. And she's been worked at the cinema for a long time, this person. And we were like, please, we'll leave it there. And then she said something really depressing, like, yeah, because we were like, will it still be here when we get out? She was like, yeah, he'll still be here. I'll still be here. I'll still be here. Long before you're gone. And I just remember thinking, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
So sorry you're struggling. I'm going to go in now.
Yeah. And do you know what's depressing? I then went to work at that cinema.
Oh,
for a few months, about 10 years later, and I'm confident that woman was still there working.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was a lifer, which is
Do you
fine.
like-
Hey, no problem with that. I just find it interesting in the trajectory of my life.
How long did you serve at the cinema?
About 3 months.
How did you find the 3 months?
I found them interesting, eye-opening. I got to go into the projection room, which was amazing, actually.
Yeah.
That was truly like inspiring. Mainly, though, I was just working on the front lines and the concessions stand and just like learning the way that people consume food and for which movies and how people order.
They're big popcorn movies, aren't they? Big like sweet movies.
And but I enjoyed the thrill of being in the cinema for a bit.
You don't see this that much because we actually very thankfully get the free ticket to a lot of the biggest movies. But often for the really big, specific, fun movies, I would happily get popcorn and chocolate, which is like £13. I'd very happily for the big. I'm like, it's a big movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my Maltesers and pour it on my popcorn.
I was going to say,
and have a good and do that. I don't really do that anymore.
No, I don't. I can't.
I kind of just. I don't think I've ever seen you do that. I have like the assigned popcorn to me. You know what I've been doing this year? I'll get a large thing of like iced tea. I did that for Mission Impossible and for F1.
Nice.
Just like I want to suck on something sweet.
I hear that and I just think my bladder. That's just going to hit you straight in the.
It's been a concern, but I've absolutely nailed it. The key is to not drink all of it in hour one.
I see. Yes.
You just don't like get excited and drink it during the trailers. Like you need to like slowly sip it over the course of the film. Yeah.
This is so niche, but like when I have a drink in the cinema and I'm like, a bit like you, I've been kind of metering out, and then there's a point where I'm like, I know I'm in the third act of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can sesh this now. Because I'll last.
It's fine. There's
I'll
no
last
consequences.
Yeah. That's me at the end of Hamlet. Yeah, sorry, Jesse.
Just as it's all getting really sad, you just pop open your Maltesers and you're like,
don't mind me. James, shall we crack on with the game?
Let's do it.
James, as ever, Pulp Kitchen ends
With a game.
And today, guys, it is a return of the favourite recently, which is Cast's Countdown, but with only 2 actors' names.
Yeah, hard mode.
Hard mode. Turn it up.
Cut budget, but actually better.
I'm going to give James 2 actors from the cast list of a movie, and he has to guess what the movie is. It's very simple, and if you love movies, you should probably get them too. James, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Guess the movie from these 2 actors: Scarlett Johansson and Michael Caine.
The Prestige.
Correct. Eric Bana and Nick Nolte. This is an old one I just threw
Hulk?
right there. Yes,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor and Orlando Bloom.
Ewan McGregor and Orlando Bloom. Kingdom of Heaven?
Oh,
Ewan McGregor.
Similar era, ensemble cast.
Ewan McGregor. Hold on. Ewan McGregor and Orlando Bloom.
Ensemble movie.
No, go on.
The answer is Black Hawk Down.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Chris Tucker and Jennifer Lawrence.
Tucker and Jennifer Lawrence. Chris Tucker and Jennifer Lawrence. It's not Silver Linings Playbook?
It is Silver Linings Playbook, yes. Richard E. Grant and Stephen Merchant.
Logan.
Yes. Ben Whishaw and Claire Foy.
Women Talking.
Yes.
Great movie. I really like that.
Rebecca Ferguson and Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. Rebecca
Ferguson. Recent.
No, go on.
House of Dynamite.
Oh, yeah, of course, that movie.
Recent, but forgotten.
Yes.
David Oyelowo and Anne Hathaway.
Interstellar.
Yes, he's in one scene.
He's in one scene.
Yes. John Bernthal and Shia LaBeouf.
Fury.
Yes, should have gone for Jason Isaacs because he's also in that movie.
He is
very
in
briefly.
that movie, yes.
And Emma Watson and Paul Rudd.
In Little Women. No.
You've confused your Paul Rudd with your Bob Odenkirk.
Wait, I want to go. Emma Stone.
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. Emma Watson and Paul
I'm going to
Rudd.
say the words I said originally, which is Emma Watson and Paul Rudd. You can say whoever
Not
you
Emma
want.
Stone and Paul Giamatti.
No, it's Emma Watson and Paul Rudd.
Because I've got one for them. Emma Watson and Paul Rudd. Is he in like Beauty and the Beast or something?
No.
Is he in... Emma Watson's only done a few films.
Yeah, she has. And Paul Rudd's in one of them.
Famously. No, go on.
It's The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh,
he
I
plays
did
the
know,
teacher.
I
He
did
plays the
know.
English teacher.
Yeah.
There you go. That was
Thank
the
you.
game for this week. James, you did pretty well.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
well.
enjoyed that.
Thank you very much for joining us for this episode of Pulp Kitchen.
Thank you to our producers, Rachel, Dave, Loz, and Umar. Don't forget
Thank
we post new editorial episodes of Pulp Kitchen every single Wednesday, which is an episode like this where you got some chit chat from me and George, a little roundup, a big topic, emails, and then some movie trivia. And don't forget, guys, you can listen to all of our breakout review clips of all the films that are coming out in the week, and sometimes maybe some ones we missed from a few weeks ago. So we've got some really fun films to talk about soon. I'm really excited to catch Waste Man, which is a new film with David Johnson and
Tom Blythe.
Tom Blythe. I've got Project Hail Mary, which I'm going to see next week. I don't know when the embargo is, but look forward to us covering that really soon. We'll be doing a spoiler cast for the Night of the Seven Kingdoms Game of Thrones series, which is now wrapped. So look out for that. That will be a spoiler conversation. You can hear our spoiler-free impressions of the first two episodes that we did a few weeks ago. Other than that, make sure you check out Double Take, as other people have mentioned. If you like what we do and you want to throw us a bone and support us, that is our weekly news show where we talk about all the film happenings in the film world.
If you liked our roundup of the BAFTAs this morning, that's kind of the kind of chit-chat we do on Double Take, which is talking about recent events in a sort of catch-up fashion. For sure. And please make sure you follow us on social media channels as well, where we post a lot of fun stuff. But also, like, for example, the BAFTAs, that is the best place to see the immediate coverage and experience our kind of time on the carpet is through our social media channels, which is where a lot of you discover us through anyway. But if you see something you like of ours, comment, like, share it, put it to your story. It all helps us grow and helps the show
Tell your
massively.
friends that you like the show.
Shout it from the rooftops.
Don't listen in a vacuum.
No. And just remember that through this awards season and this busy year of movies, the best place to catch it all is through Pulp Kitchen.
You can catch it all right here at the home
Kitchen.
of cinema.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great week. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.